Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Season 4. It's been quite some time as Dom, Gio, and I have been trying to figure out a schedule now that school has begun, and that will be a talking point here at the beginning of the episode. But I am joined by my guest for today.
It's Mr. Solis.
And we are back to discuss wrestling as always. But before we get into that, sir, how have you been?
I've been okay. We're wrapping up August. The school year is underway, and it's business as usual. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for the team that supports me. It's going to be a good year.
That's good to hear, sir.
How about you? How's your year starting now that school's in session?
So I started Monday, and so I have one class that's Monday and Wednesdays, another one that's Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then I have an online class on Friday, and then another class that doesn't start until the second half of the semester.
Okay.
Yeah, so Monday, I had an English class. I really liked my professor. I really liked, a lot of his mindset that he had for going forward in the class, and like a lot that he was telling us. He was talking about, like if you're worried you're gonna fail or this and that. I'm letting you know right now, 90% of the students that fail my class fail because of one of two reasons: they stop showing up or they stop turning stuff in.
Hey.
And he was telling us about this story about like one of these students who did exactly that and was like, going to him complaining in a sense about like why did they fail and all this. And I really liked the quote that he gave. I can't remember it word for word, but I wrote down like a summary of basically what it was just, if you want it bad enough, you'll put in the work for it, So, I really like that quote. And then he seems like he's going to be a real fun professor, especially for English. And then today, it was for a literature class. I like the professor as well. They just seem very passionate about what they're going to teach. And then I'm a bit worried for Friday's class because it's a math class. So I'm a bit worried, but I'm ready for it.
I try to use earphones, but what's the name of your math class? Is it math for English majors?
Similar. It's math for, I think it says literature arts.
Hey, I wonder what that's going to cover.
Yeah. So I have that one, and it's a 3-hour class because it's on Zoom and it's on one day, so it's going to be 3 hours. So a lot of people were like shying away from those classes, like saying like you shouldn't take them. But actually at UCLA, I want to say like, I genuinely think it was for 3 separate quarters. I took a art history class that was 3 hours. Like it was the same Friday, 3 hours. So I'm kind of used to having to attend a class like that already. I know it's different subject, but I'm looking forward to it just because math has always been a subject that has tested my endurance, if you want to say.
Let's go. Hopefully UCLA doesn't, fumble the ball and tell you something like multiplying 2 negatives makes a negative or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just want to double check that Bruin math,
Yeah, but so I'm just, I'm excited for school. I was a bit worried, like, for yesterday and today, but as soon as I sat down in the class and was listening to the professor, I was like, okay, after being out of school for so long, I'm getting back into the groove already within the first week.
Even just the summer, like, I love the memes that people post, like, teachers post about coming back from the summer, like, I forgot how to teach. You know what I mean? Like, I forgot how to do anything. And, it takes a day, takes a week, you get back to the rhythm,
Yeah, one thing that, like, I was thinking to myself in a joking manner is because, for the past year, I wasn't in school. I was mainly just here in the house. I was like, am I even going to remember how to speak and write again? Especially because of my friends, they would like we would be talking about it, and you would see like a lot of spelling errors, and I'm just like, and we're going back to school talking like this, misspelling simple words like this.
Yeah,
but yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited for it too. 2 other friends, Gio's actually going with me over here at LACC, and another one of our friends too.
Awesome, that sounds incredible. Love to have a support system. Love to hear all of you are advancing your education.
Yeah, and the cool thing is, like, I don't have any classes with them, but I know one of my friends, we're usually there around the same time, so we like see each other, We talk a bit. It's good to have some familiarity on there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I'm real excited for it. And one thing, sir, I will say, whether it's seeing how it's AEW we're talking about for this session, and we know how long their pay-per-views are. I suspect there will likely be a second episode, so I'll say there is very likely something that a lot of people are expecting us to talk about, and I think it's best to save it for the end.
Okay, even though chronologically I think I know exactly what you're talking about, I think it happens very early in the night.
Oh, well, I'm referencing something else, but we'll get to it when we get to it.
We'll get to it when we get to it. I'm with you, Jack.
But first, we start off with... first off, obviously, like I mentioned, we're talking about AEW. We're talking about All In at Wembley Stadium. 81,000 people in attendance.
I mean, they call it the largest wrestling show ever because I think it just beats out the biggest WrestleMania. I don't know which one that is. But you think even if WrestleMania beats it next year, you're still thinking and talking about the largest non-WWE wrestling event ever held.
Yeah, I want to say it's WrestleMania 3's attendance, but I don't know for sure. And I know a lot of people will likely mention it because you said non-WWE. The reason, what is it called? Collision in Korea isn't counted is because that was like a forced attendance thing from what I've heard. So,
yeah, it was.
So that's why that's not counted. But so, yeah, like you said, this is a major accomplishment for a company that's going to be just turned 4 years old.
Yeah.
To be holding a show like
WrestleMania 3, I just looked up, 78,000 in attendance.
I forget which WrestleMania it is then. It might have been 32.
Uh-huh. They're always trying to beat it now, right?
Yeah, and I think the main thing is it's paid attendance. It's not counting all the workers, all the people and wrestlers themselves. It's counting
all the
who paid.
Comp tickets. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's who paid to get a ticket to sit here. And, very surprising. When this was announced, I'll admit, when I heard the announcement while watching Dynamite, I was shocked because I was like, all this time I've heard about them going to England. They were talking about them going to the arena that Tony Khan owns because he owns the soccer team out there.
Uh-huh.
So they were talking about using that arena. And the next thing you know, they announced they're going to Wembley Stadium. And everyone's like, well, how are they going to do it? Is it only going to be like certain this much available amount of tickets? Nope, they went the full length and said, hey, we're selling about like 90K tickets. And we want to fill this place up, and they got to 81K. So
now here's the next big question, Jack. Is the show any good, right? Because we went into Saturday, it was Sunday morning for us.
Yeah.
With so little build, you know what I mean? Like, it was so put together so quickly, and they got another show next week. It was like, is this going to be good? Is this going to be worth it?
Yeah, and in my mind, I was like, not to discredit anyone on this show, but to me, I was like, how much is this crowd going to influence people's views on the show? Because this is AEW's biggest show ever, 81K people. That's obviously going to influence how a lot of people view this show,
Yeah, and you've got a very notorious, raucous crowd, of people all over the world, but we generally get the sense that when you go overseas, that audience is going to tell you what they're thinking.
Yeah. So, yeah, this show was a huge test, if you want to say,
Yes, sir.
But, so, starting off with the pre-show, mainly because there is something on the pre-show that has implications for later in the show. We start off with the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships, champions Aussie Open, Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher defending against Adam Cole and the AEW World Champion, MJF.
Have you been following the story at all, Jack? All summer, it's been like this, they're best friends.
Yeah, so I've been following this story. I think it started just right about after Double or Nothing.
Correct.
It actually did it start after Forbidden Door? It may have started after Forbidden. Or it may have started maybe just a bit before, actually.
Uh-huh.
But so what I remember is they started this whole storyline about Adam Cole challenging MJF. They had the match on Dynamite, and it went to a time limit. And Adam Cole wanted 5 more minutes, but MJF, obviously being the heel that he is, didn't want to give it to him. And then from there, AEW announced this blind tag tournament. And through that, they announced that MJF and Adam Cole actually got paired in the tournament. And so they went from there competing as a tag team. They made it, won the whole thing. And through it, you progressively saw Adam Cole getting more buddy-buddy with MJF. But of course, the underlying theme is we know who these two gentlemen are. Who's going to be the first one to turn on the other, you know, and be the heel that we know them to be. Although Adam Cole has been more of a face as of late since his return at Dynamite in Los Angeles, where you and I were in attendance.
Correct.
So from there, we saw this whole story of Cole being more and more buddy-buddy, and a lot of the people in Cole's life not being too keen about it. We saw a segment with Britt Baker not being too happy about this partnership, and of course, the biggest playing part, his buddy Roderick Strong not being too happy and keen about this friendship.
And you've got the Kingdom, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett, who are familiar with Adam Cole's past, and at one point were his buddies as well. But Adam Cole has a checkered history, right?
Yeah. So,
and I guess, Jack, that's the only intrigue I have in this Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship match that we find ourselves in. You know?
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't happening, Jack. I'm gonna say that right now. Like, I really wish it was any other team challenging Aussie Open.
Yeah, I definitely feel the same way, where I was like, especially because of, you know, the result, I was kind of just like, well, it kind of bothers me given what we were expecting, but also at the same time, hey, maybe should I give them some props for not going the direction we all thought they were going, you know? Because a lot of people expected them to lose this match and have one or the other start tension with the other ahead of their main event match for All In.
And commentary, trying to make sense of any of this, is like, is this all a ploy by Adam Cole to get MJF less than 100% for the main event? Is he going to let him take a bunch of the, you know, offense and not tag in? And the whole plan was to soften him up, right?
Yeah, especially when MJF, you know, we all know him to be a guy who doesn't like wrestling a lot, who will try and take as many days off as he can.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
or
and real quickly, to play into what you were saying, we saw during the match that I think commentary even mentioned it, how you were saying, like, could it all be a ploy? We see Adam Cole during the match trying to get MJF to do a dive, something he doesn't do.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so they were really playing an interesting story, but again, similar to your thoughts, I wasn't too keen on seeing Aussie Open defending the titles in this match, and I wasn't too keen with the result, especially given, like, you know, in my eyes, okay, cool, but how often are we really going to see these two on Ring of Honor, or even, you know, doing anything with those titles until the time comes for them to drop them?
Well, I got news for you, Jack. Adam Cole and MJF, the tag team that started in June, were able to beat the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions with the long-awaited kangaroo kick, which was MJF posing like a kangaroo, and the people were all about it. Like, they wanted this to happen. He jumps up, kicks them both. Kind of picture a kangaroo jumping up, right? Kicks them both square in the chest, and then he and Adam Cole hit the long-awaited double clothesline, which, again, I was very surprised to hear the crowd like waiting with bated breath for. And that was enough, Jack. That's double clothesline to pin Kyle Fletcher.
Yeah, very, very surprising, but very, you know, again, I think kind of what I was saying in the beginning, I think the way the crowd reacted, and just because of the way this story is developing, it's sort of allowed people to see it in a better light, if I want to say, you know.
And so now the intrigue is that in the main event of tonight's show, in front of 81,000 strong, they're going to be Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions going after each other like they're John Cena and Shawn Michaels at that one WrestleMania. Except not really, except kind of, sort of.
Yeah. So it does kind of suck to see, Aussie Open lose the title so soon. A part of me suspects that this is likely done because maybe now that they know for sure that Davis is fully healthy, hopefully, they maybe want to potentially run a program with FTR and Aussie Open. Seeing how they did that last year.
That's an interesting... That's a hopeful look, Jack, and I'm going to hope with you.
Yeah. And then later on in the night, or in this pre-show, I think we also got a segment between Miro and Hobbs hyping up their match at All Out.
Contract signing?
Yeah, the two men obviously just went and fought each other. And then from there, we had our final match of the pre-show, the FTW Championship match, Hook versus Jack Perry.
I very much so enjoyed this match, Jack.
I thought it was... I didn't know it was going to be a false count anywhere, so I was very surprised with how it started. But
it's the FTW Championship, so I was not surprised. But when you mentioned it just now, I guess it's not explicitly inherent by the title that's the case, because maybe every other FTW Championship match wasn't the case.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Fitting.
But yeah, we see these two just start going at it. They start having their crazy brawl. Obviously, Jack Perry comes in this huge limo, and I just find it so funny. I like when I like it's sometimes a mixed bag. You never know what you're gonna get when commentators are biased, but I just like how much the commentators were trying to downplay a lot of Jack Perry's things. Like when he came out in the limo, they were like, "That limo looks kind of short, doesn't it?" Trying to say he didn't have a real full-on limo, and they were like, "That limo's kind of short. It only has 6 doors."
Yeah, no, I get you, but he's also hearkening to ECW alum, right? Like RVD with the Coast to Coast or the Rolling Thunder on the hood of the car, right?
Yeah.
Again, commentary is trying to it's funny how right after the match we just talked about, the story is that he's besmirching this FTW championship. It's lauded history, right? And you're like, I'm trying to be with you, commentary, but you literally did even worse to the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships about 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, and the two did go back and work. They had some crazy moments. I thought it was decent, and then there's the big talking point of this match where Perry knocks on the glass and says, "Hey, look, it's real glass. Cry me a river."
Jack, I had no idea what he was talking about until later. Did you have any idea what he was talking about?
I knew what he was talking about, and the moment he said it, I was like, why are we still on this? Why can we never move on from this stuff?
Goodness, Jack. Goodness.
Yeah, we'll definitely. This is another thing that we'll have to.
That's some episode 2. That's some part 2 stuff, Jack.
Yeah, that's some part 2 stuff. But yeah, when he did that, I was like, oh my gosh. But anyways, they do that, and then next thing you know, it comes back to bite him as a Hook. I forget. I think Hook suplexed him. He did I think it was a fisherman suplex. I think it was, but he suplexes Perry onto that glass. Pretty sick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, pretty sick. And then Hook gets the win.
Yeah, it is a fisherman buster suplex.
Yeah, and Hook gets the win, becoming a 2-time champion.
Yep.
I'm going to be honest. I know a lot of people might be upset with this line of thinking, but I have to mention it because during the All In post-show conference, there was a reporter that actually asked Tony Khan, hey, how come we didn't see a second women's match on the show, the TBS title or something like a battle royale for the women? And he mentioned that I think his scapegoat of an answer was it would have ruined the pace of this show, and it's could it not have filled in the tag titles or this match? That's just how I feel. Where I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying this match was bad. I'm not saying I didn't like it or enjoy it on the show, but a part of me is just like, why did we not feature some more women? You know, like I was telling Ricardo right before this, I was like, it was like a 5-hour show and we only had one women's match that was, 10 minutes or so.
That's some New Japan averages, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then, to the people that say, well, these two matches on the pre-show had more story to them, why can't we give more time and story to a lot of the women on the roster?
That's where you got to start, right, Jack? Like, I hate to have a match for match sake, and I would rather have no match than a bad one, right?
Yeah.
Or an underwhelming one. But no, yeah, we got to start from the beginning and build and write better stories for our female wrestlers.
Yeah, and I agree with you because that's why I'm not too mad at there not being one on the pre-show, because for all I know, they could have just been like, okay, here's a second match that goes on for 3 minutes.
Yeah, right? And that would have been almost worse.
Yeah, especially because then what happens to those women in the match? When people are talking about what was the worst match on the card, they're unfortunately the ones that are brought up.
Yeah, and like the Band-Aid solution is like giving them main events for Dynamite. And you're like, yeah, but still, it would have been nice to have been involved in the largest wrestling show in history.
Yeah. Yeah, and hey, they don't do it anymore, but what did WWE do for the longest time for their biggest show? Here's a battle royale with everyone on here so they can get a payday and get some shine in the crowd, But moving forward, we now get to the main show, and we start off with Samoa Joe challenging the real world champion, CM Punk.
I can't stand, Jack, how, it's one thing when they're on two different shows on the weekly TV product, but MJF was just out here. So they must have, they're in the same building. How and why is he not addressed that there's this other guy claiming to be a champion?
Yeah.
The real champion.
I get, you don't want to split yourself, but at the same time, I've always thought it's been pretty interesting when certain guys have multiple storylines going on,
Uh-huh.
So it's like, how, despite being distracted with this whole Adam Cole thing, how has at no point MJF, since the very beginning, since it happened, how has he not addressed someone referring to themselves as the real world champion,
Yeah, Mr. Real Loose Cannon, what am I going to say next? LOL, OMG. I break the fourth wall means nothing to me, right? He's been real quiet about this guy claiming to have never been beat for a championship he's holding.
Yeah. That's definitely a part.
Yeah. Jack, I want to harken you back to days of old when you and I would cover cards that had a Charlotte match on it.
Mm-hmm.
And how much I hated myself for liking Charlotte matches. I really liked this match, Jack, and I really didn't want to. Yeah, and when Punk came back, Jack, from his injury, right? He was out for as long as he was because of an injury, right? For no other reason. And that was almost a year ago. When he came back, I thought that he had created such a fuss that could have been avoided, that the only way we could address it is to just beat him up. You know what I mean? Just send him out there. That's like some good old fashioned Vince McMahon, early 2000s. Like, listen, I'm just going to beat the heck out of you, right? And I thought that's what we need to do. Put him out there and just someone needs to take liberties with him. So imagine my surprise when Samoa Joe starts coming after him.
Yeah. And not only that, as we'll get into the second episode, Samoa Joe was shooting at him backstage too.
Yes, sir. And out here, it's just so wild when Punk is real. He just, I don't know. My favorite sign of the night, I don't know if you saw it during this match, it said Pepsi is a soft drink. Samoa Joe gave it all to him.
Yeah, Samoa Joe was, being as stiff as you could be. There was the spot where he, threw him into the announce table and he went, through it.
Yes. Yes. It was kind of like the swing, right? Like the swing into it.
Yeah. And then...
he does like I think Punk catches him. It was one of those I'm gonna walk away from you spots, but Punk actually catches him. But he tries it again on the outside, and Samoa does the walk away spot.
Yeah, this was a real good match. I loved how, like you're saying, Joe just was absolutely battering the man. And then, of course, to finish it, the biggest surprise to me is that Punk pulled out that Pepsi plunge, because it's like, again, I'm not trying to insult the guy, not trying to push any buttons of his, but with how your knees are, I'm surprised you're taking a spot like that.
I tell you what, Jack, I don't care whose buttons I press. I don't care who takes what I say in any manner they want. Samoa Joe hit himself with a Pepsi plunge, and CM Punk was laid on top of him because he couldn't hook his arms. He's such a big guy.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the GTS that he did on him. That it was from a one of the collisions. I forget which one. He had a GTS on him, and people were saying, "Oof, that looked bad."
Oof. Want to go for that Anaconda Vice next time?
Yeah. Did you see the meme that came from the recent collision of Samoa Joe? He was sitting on commentary, and then you just see, I forgot what happened in the match, but you just see him, so quickly rip off the headset and just, get himself up and run into the ring and go after Punk. It was, it was hilarious seeing that. So
I saw the replay, and he's at commentary, the match is over, and, he's doing this thing, too, where he's, this eloquently spoken gentleman, right, who's going to tear you apart, and he's, without breaking eye contact with CM Punk, he asks the commentators, "Gentlemen, I believe the match is over, correct?" And as soon as one of them says correct, I think he might have hit a fan with his headphones. He swung them so hard off his head.
Yeah, that spot was great. But yeah, we get this match to start off the show. Pretty hot opening. And a lot of people were wondering, what matches are going to come after another? Are we going to slow down at any point? Well, based off of the matches announced, we aren't slowing down, because the next match, we're getting right into trios action, which is the most chaotic form of action in AEW. We got Bullet Club Gold, Jay White and Juice Robinson teaming with Konosuke Takeshita of the Don Callis family against the Golden Elite, Hangman Adam Page, Kota Ibushi, and Kenny Omega.
And, I think a lot of us, groaned at these multi-man matches that they announced for a big show like this. You'd love to see some one-on-one action. But I'll tell you what, Jack, New Japan's really, softened me to them, because even though we don't get, Kota versus Konosuke, they definitely interacted, right? Yeah. It's like a sampler appetizer at a restaurant, You don't get a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's how I felt about the 6-man at Dominion, where Claudio got to wrestle, and you were he got all these samplers of what he could potentially be like in Japan. And after Eddie Kingston this year, here's to hoping that Claudio goes next year for the G1.
Oh my!
But yeah, I definitely get you. Whereas a lot of people going into this show, especially after hearing this match, a lot of them were "Oh, why are we not getting certain singles matches and all that?" But I think this works because it throws 6 of your biggest competitors, especially one of whom is, the biggest potential star or next upcoming star for this company to utilize. You throw them into a match with 5 of the biggest names, that not only AEW has, but wrestling has known for the past couple of years.
Yep. Oh, you should also mention that not only is Bullet Club Gold represented by the 3 men you named, but also the Gun Club are at ringside.
Yeah. And I don't know if you ended up catching it, sir, but this might be also your first time seeing Kota Ibushi on AEW.
This is my first time seeing him, because I didn't see the whatever they're calling War Games.
Yeah, Blood and Guts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was great to see Ibushi come up against Jay White, and you're like, "Oh, I've seen this before."
Yeah. I will say, the one thing that confused me was the fact that the Golden Elite didn't come out as a trio. They came out with their own separate entrances, and I was a bit confused by it, because I was like, I heard so much people saying, "Oh, when the Elite comes out to Wayward Son and the whole crowd sings it," and it's just they didn't end up doing that. That's weird that you didn't use licensed music for your biggest show for this trio.
Yeah, maybe it's the absence of the Young Bucks, right?
Potentially, yeah. I think maybe that's what it is. But so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we got 6 big names all in trios action. And
Any spots stand out to you?
oh, there was a lot. These guys took the ground running right away. You know, like they were just going crazy. There was a spot, I can't remember if it was Hangman or was it Ibushi, where like they had a close spot where they almost like messed up a dive or like a moonsault, I think it was. I know it was Hangman. Hangman was going crazy with the moves. Like he was constantly like doing his moonsaults to like the outside and diving on people. He was going crazy.
He was hitting people on both sides of the ring. After hitting one side, he ran in the ring to go to the other side. I think it was like Jay White and Juice.
Yeah, and speaking of, Juice was hilarious as always. It's honestly crazy to me just how much he's what's the way I want to put it, like just the way he's grown with the fans since like the beginning of the year, especially, you know.
Yeah.
Like when he first signed and when he first was appearing, a lot of people were like weren't too keen on it, were a bit worried about like where was he gonna fit in, but like with the with the addition of another 2 hours of wrestling, he's gotten his time to shine, and people have really started enjoying his work.
And you know what? On his own, he was something that I don't know people knew what to do with. But next to Jay White, it's funny, like the contrast, right? Like he's the same guy, but just with that like comparison, you got the even-keeled guy. Maybe some people might call boring, right? Soft-spoken. And then you got Juice, who's the exact opposite of all those things.
Yeah. Just adds a great dynamic. Trying to think of some other spots that I remember seeing.
My favorite, because now Jim Ross is on commentary. Ibushi is letting, maybe it was Switchblade, Jay White slap him. You know, he's just asking him for like, you know, hit me harder. Is that all you got? Right? He's just like asking like him to hit him again. And Jim Ross is like, I don't get this. Like, why would you ask somebody to hit you?
Yeah, that was hilarious. And then the other one was, Kota Ibushi is the Golden Star, and they start mentioning, like, they keep mentioning Golden Elite, Golden Star, and you just hear Jim Ross go, why does everything have to be golden?
He's incredible in this old age, in his winter years.
Yeah, I really think Takeshita and Hangman were definitely like the two brightest like parts of this match. Like they were really shining throughout this match. Takeshita's really showing that that match with Kenny, that singles match that I think might happen at All Out.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope it happens sooner rather than later. And
I didn't realize like that Kota. I didn't realize Kota and Kenny like knew Takeshita in DDT. You know that they had a history.
Yeah, I
remember added to everything.
Yeah, and then the one thing I saw a lot of people talking about, I want to know what your opinion is, sir, which I think you more than likely might agree, but also I think some people may be overreacting a bit or just maybe set their expectations too high, but a lot of people were mentioning that Ibushi really looks like he's slowed down a bit, I guess is what some people were referring to, you know? And what a lot of people were saying is, you got to remember, as young as he looks, he's 41, you know?
Yeah. I tell you what, I wonder if his role in these multi-man matches, give credence to those observations, right? Like his ability to like not carry a match entirely on his own. I think the same thing about Kenny too. I think Kenny does a lot of multi-man matches now because like I bet he's more worse for wear than we think.
Yeah, especially
then he goes and tears the house down with Ospreay, and I don't know what to think.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think after the 2021 that he had, it's definitely like that. Even though he took all that time off, it definitely took a toll on him, you know.
Yeah,
and I definitely think the same thing for Ibushi, where I think people forget that not only was he coming back to wrestling after so long, but he was coming back from injury too, you know.
Right.
So it's like I don't expect Ibushi to not only like be like rapid speed, especially from like his younger ages. Like I understand he's 41, and who knows, maybe they're using these multi-man matches to ease him into it again, so that he can get back to higher level competing once he gets to those one-on-one matches, which is I think the same thing for Kenny, you know, where he's able to go as hard as he did with Ospreay at Forbidden Door because he's not having those one-on-one matches constantly and having to compete at that level.
I like that. Like, that's some pretty sound reasoning there.
Yeah.
Save it for when it's going to count in a big old way.
Yeah, and that's why I'll say to people, because I saw people mentioning it, and I think maybe it is a good discussion to like at least consider for AEW's future, but I personally don't think, hey, maybe I could see it happening one more time, but I don't know if we see Kenny win the world title again. You know, I think they start doing more of what, like I said, they're doing now, where it's like, maybe he's in the tag division with Ibushi or Hangman again. Maybe he's in the trios division with any combination. Maybe he's with one of the... Even though they're both sort of workhouse style or not workhorse style, maybe we see him with the TNT or international title where it doesn't require as heavy of a workload, as heavy of a, you know, go out there and have a barn burner as the world title requires, you know?
I hear you.
But very good trios match. I really enjoyed this one.
By the way, I think, tell me what you think about this, right? I heard it called an upset victory after hitting a V-trigger on somebody, or our best bout machine, Kenny Omega, gets rolled up. Oh, this thing ended in a roll-up?
Yeah, that surprised me.
Like Takeshita.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised that they took the win. I was surprised that they ended on a roll-up, because I was like, really? A roll-up?
With no, like, big cheating. Gun Club tries to get involved, but they get thwarted by Hangman, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Got caught off guard. The best bout machine. Goodness gracious, got caught by a roll-up. I'm just saying.
That's like...
It gives Don Callis something to be obnoxious about.
Yeah, no lie. But we move on to our next match, which is the AEW World Tag Team Championships on the line. The Young Bucks challenging champions FTR. And again, a match that didn't really have a lot of build, didn't really have a lot of fire to it, other than just what we know of the history between these two tag teams.
How much time we got in this episode, good sir?
7 minutes.
Is 7 minutes enough to talk about the hat trick, Jack? This is the rubber match. This is the two self-proclaimed greatest tag team champions today, deciding once and for all who's number one.
Yeah. I think let's just start, and wherever we have to stop, we'll continue in the next episode, just because I know there's so much to discuss.
There's a lot to discuss here, Jack.
So, utilizing our time best, sir, what'd you think of this match to start off?
I was definitely going in hoping FTR was going to win.
I felt the same way, solely because with the way AEW's been recently, other than a couple of the titles sort of not changing hands frequently, we've seen the tag titles change hands frequently. We've seen the TNT title change so frequently. We've seen the women's title change so frequently. I was like, let's please get some stability in this division, you know, and especially for FTR, like they just started getting into their groove due to Collision, you know. They started getting some real good storylines for them to work with. Let's not cut that short, you know.
And I know that they all work. I know they're all good workers, right? And I know they're charismatic. I don't know. When it comes to the Young Bucks, right, being, I guess, maybe as big play as big a role in this company, right? It just feels really, I don't know, not authentic, inauthentic, right? Where FTR are actually coming at it from a work rate stance, right? I don't know. There's something that's more believable about their superiority in the tag team division, and I'm glad they came in defending champions, right? So I don't know, if the Young Bucks won, I was going to be real sour about the state of, you know, AEW.
Yeah, and one thing I really liked about this match was just I liked a lot of the different sort of callbacks they did, but at the same time, I do wish they did certain callbacks differently. Like the one I'll mention from the match, we see Cash Wheeler going for the 450, and it's like interrupted at one point, so it gives him a chance to second guess it, to second guess going for that 450. But instead he goes for it again, and it fails once again, and it's like, did you not learn from Full Gear 2020,
That match was obnoxious. This one was not as much. And honestly, I don't remember anything about the second one. I don't know when it happened.
I think the second one happened on TV, so...
Yeah, but that first one, Jack, I remember, I hated it. I hated how, forced everything was about this match. This one felt much better.
Yeah, I definitely liked this one a lot better. I definitely liked the way, it really picked up the pace, and I really liked how, I truly think it was perfectly paced for me,
Oh, I wouldn't be throwing around words perfectly, but this pace, for as long as it was, and I only felt it towards the end where we were getting multiple kickouts, right? Mm-hmm. But I tell you, my favorite part was the impromptu singles match that happened in the middle between Matt and Dax. Mm. They were together for a minute on their own in the middle. We just had a straight up singles match for a while.
Yeah, that was real good. I'm trying to remember some different spots. Obviously, with these two teams, they were, I always find it funny that when these two teams face off, it's they start doing, they turn into Callback City and start, paying homage to all these different spots of other things. And it's just anytime I see people, doing these things where they're paying homage to previous matches, I just remember to something you said during one of the episodes for this podcast. I can't remember what show it was, who you were referring to. I know you were referring to someone's attire, which I know is different than matches, but you said, all these people are paying homage, using their gears, using their matches to pay homage to the ones that came before them. If you keep doing this, what are the future wrestlers going to have to pay homage to from you and your matches, your gears,
I was talking about Johnny Gargano, right? My man needs to find himself an identity and give the future generation something to refer to. Love it. And I think you're 100% right. You know what's funny? They would never hammered this home. But have you ever noticed how much these two teams reflect the rivalry between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels?
Yeah.
You got super flashy, right? Obnoxious, and 100% convinced that he's the best, compared to the down to earth, grounded, I am the best. They didn't have to say that. We didn't have to make those direct comparisons, but they're 100% there. They're this generation's Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, and I'm very grateful that he never said that explicitly.
Yeah. They're Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels on screen and off screen.
Oh my. Hey, my second favorite sign of the night is FTR, Fear the Revolver.
I saw that too, and the crowd took no liberties in, chanting some stuff for cash.
My goodness.
Yeah, so much going into the show. Not only the build, but so much that could have potentially compromised the show.
For real. How much time we got?
1 minute and 45 seconds.
Who wins the AEW World Tag Team Championships?
Well, unlike, like I mentioned, unlike Full Gear where it cost them the match, that 450 doesn't cost FTR the match. They're able to fight through it. So many kickouts. That I will say that was one thing that definitely kind of ruined the pace for me, was just how much they were doing kickouts towards the very end, to the point of non-believability. But we get the spot where they try and hit the Meltzer driver, and I believe Dax comes in to interrupt it, and it allows them to hit the big rig, I think is what they call it, or maybe they went back to calling it the Shatter Machine, but they hit it to defend or successfully defend their championships here in Wembley Stadium.
That's funny, Jack. I was setting up a cliffhanger, and you were just like, let's do it. Let's finish this.
My bad. But, yeah, they
I love it.
They take home the win, and we get a post-match where the Bucks refuse to shake their hands.
Ooh, what a Shawn Michaels thing to do.
What a Shawn Michaels thing to do, and what a unlike Bret Hart thing to do for FTR to actually win this match in Wembley. But with that being said, with the remaining time, thank you all for joining for this episode. Tune into the next episode where we finish the rest of AEW All In. And hopefully there's enough time to talk about the post All In stuff and more specifically the one thing I have saved for the end.
Let's go.